here with Adrien Fourmeau. Very, very quick blast through here. And let's see what happens in terms of that overall classification and the change-arounds we may see. We saw a bit of drama in the previous one with obviously Rovanperä and Ogier picking up tyre damage in there. We're trying to get some clarity as well on what was going on with Adrien Fourmeau. But the drama continued within WRC2 as well. Obviously Lindholm having some kind of transmission issue, and we're already on the way to TalkSport to get to the bottom of that as well. So super fast blast through this stage, and Seb Marshall is going to be joining me to chat through this one and give us his expert insight into tarmac driving, tarmac co-driving from his perspective, of course. Sebastian Ogier then and Vincent Landé, they got off to a fantastic start this morning on the opening stage. They were leading the rally, and then disaster on the previous one, hitting that compression. And Rovanperä did exactly the same thing, and both of them had tyre damage in precisely the same spot. Seb, Rally Croatia is living up to its name, isn't it? As, you know, the one that does tell the stories, and there's drama at every turn. It certainly felt like on the previous stage. Gosh, didn't it? After, you know, we thought, oh, lovely, nice, benign weather conditions, the sun shining. Maybe it'll be a bit more straightforward this year, but certainly not the case so far, is it? Wow, I mean, gosh, where do you begin with all the action that's happened across WRC and WRC2? Yeah. Haven't even had a chance to look at what's going on in the juniors yet, but I'm sure we'll catch up with them later on. So, yeah, here we go. Ogier's underway past that corner. You can just see there is where Adrien Fourmeau had his rather spectacular trip through the hedge. It was a high speed, you know, it's straight off the start last year, wasn't it? Straight basically into the first corner, yeah. So it's again, this stage has seen its drama in the past. So like I said to Kiri just before, hopefully we'll have a slightly more calm stage to collect our thoughts, but the road will decide. Absolutely. Junior update for you. Laurent Pellier is leading off to the opening stage this morning, with Will Crichton in second position, Diego Dominguez in third for the Junior Championship on their second round here at Rally Croatia. Such a contrast this stage to the previous two, because slower sections we did see a little bit of speed, but only in short bursts in the previous stages, whereas this one is far more flowing. They can really pick up pace. It is, yeah, a little bit wider, much more open. You saw there a new stretch of tarmac just up through those hairpins, a fantastic spectator area. I actually remember driving this stage last year to access one of the stop lines on the following day, and yeah, it is notable how open the road is. There may even be a chicane partway through. Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's a real, much more flowing test, and so the drivers will have to adapt their rhythm to that. So far, not as many cuts perhaps. It's a bit more cleaner road, but I mean, there's drama lurking around every corner, it seems, so far, whether it's in the cut or in the car with obviously Lindholm. So yeah, plenty to keep an eye on. Yeah, that was a little bit of a strange incident with Lindholm, just watching the gear stick move on its own, but obviously not. The engine was screaming. It's obviously jammed into some sort of, we didn't know which gear it seemed to be stuck in. Yeah, whichever one, it wasn't optimum, was it? Definitely not. Yeah, it's certainly not ideal, and I think it looked as though he wasn't able to shift up, which is frustrating. Again, another patch of new tarmac here. Again, in this kind of weather condition, the grip on that will be reasonably good. Beautifully flowing curves from the shot from the helicopter here, aren't there? It is. It's such a complete contrast from the previous two. It's like little ribbons of tarmac just draped across the hillside. Looks absolutely beautiful. And then here's the chicane as we change back onto the older surface. It's a very, very open chicane, not like some of the ones we've seen where it's down to second gear and really tight through the hay bales. So that won't disrupt the rhythm too much. You can see here some of the corners, but by no means all of them have got these anti-cutting poles, often seen on very similar in Rally Finland, where there's a concrete block and a little marker post sort of flag it up. Our rally leaders, an advantage of 13.9 seconds over Elvin Evans. Seems like a good start from Thierry this morning, although he's not comfortable in the car. So there was a lot of movement out there, and we've had some interesting reactions facially at the stage end. If it is going to be like this for the whole rally, in terms of the condition on the stages and battling against the car, it's going to be hard.
It is. Dare I say, I'm not sure we'll ever hear a comfortable driver this weekend. I think it's just the nature of the rallies. You know,
yeah.
It's a bit like Monte Carlo in that sense. In that, okay, there's perhaps not quite the same jeopardy with snow and ice, but you always feel as though you're compromised. Okay, Thierry here has got the 4 hard compound tyres on, so that's consistent at least, but the grip underneath him's changing so much with these varying surfaces, so yeah, I feel like it's never a rally where you feel 100% at one. You're always kind of balancing that that feeling with the car and with the tyres on the road. Already a lot of gravel there. It's interesting as well to note the different types of cuts as well. So that was really smooth, kind of almost like ball bearing type gravel. Some of the ones in the forest a bit more muddy, and even that's something which you've got to factor in. You know, the gravel crew will define this as well, sort of safety note crew as we should refer to them.
Interesting. We've got 2 soft compounds, 2 hard compounds on either side of the car. Always fascinates me is where they put the different compounds and how that then feels for them.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that's Ogier would rather run 3 hards, I would guess, but he punctured one of them in the previous stage.
Have much of a choice.
Yeah, he has obviously decided that for him the balance is better to have the car, the compound of tyres aligned on one side rather than the other, as opposed to the cross pattern as we call it, where it's diagonal. That can be a very strange feeling when you do have that cross. So Seb obviously knows now that every time he turns into a right-hand corner, he's going to have slightly less grip. First split in there for Neuville, 1.3 seconds down on Ogier at 3.8 kilometres. But I mean, in some ways, that doesn't matter for Thierry now. He's got a 1.5-minute advantage.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to lose loads of time, but he can afford to lose bits and pieces here and there, as Ogier already completed.
Yeah, it took me by surprise then. That was a very fast run through there. So, first one through 5:30.8. We won't hear from Ogier at the end of this one, but we will hear from him at the end of the next one.
11.1 kilometres covered off in just over 5.5 minutes.
Honestly, when I saw him slowing down then, I was like, is there a problem?
I had the same feeling.
He's completed the stage.
Yeah, it just shows how rapid this stage is.
And there we go with the hard, the soft compound in the diagonal.
Yes, so for Calais, obviously, he's decided that's the setup that he feels most comfortable with. You try all these different variations on test as well to see, what it's like to drive. They will have even potentially driven with just the one wet tyre. You never know what situation you're going to find yourself in, and it's better to have that knowledge built up from the testing, so that you are more informed with your decisions if you encounter them on the rally.
From a co-driving perspective, Seb, 3rd year for the rally here now. Very familiar route. There's one new stage. Obviously, the previous stage was extended. But how much are they just going to go back to their notes from the previous years? Or would some of the crew start afresh? Or is it too big a job to start afresh?
I think a lot depends on how you felt they were the previous year. We sometimes hear drivers saying, the notes were too optimistic or were too slow in some stages. And they'll very much go off that in terms of whether they'll start afresh. But I think the majority of the crews, certainly the Rally 1 crews, will be using their previous notes, because it's a huge amount of work over those 2 years.
Yeah.
And if you think they've driven it twice in recce, twice on the rally, plus they've watched the videos a huge number of times, so they've already driven these roads at least 8 times. Those notes are getting very refined now for these stages, so to start that completely from scratch would be a massive job, and unless you were really unhappy with them, I don't think you would take that option.
And then put that huge amount of work on your shoulders. He's a bit wide there, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's a tricky junction, sort of over the crest, maybe slightly off camber as he turns the second phase of the corner. He's pulled back a little bit of time in this second half of the stage, just 0.6 of a second down at the final split. as we approach the finish very shortly. But yeah, I think also you've got to consider with the extra pair of eyes that the crews are allowed on tarmac with the safety note crew, they're also looking at the notes, and if there's something that's a little bit amiss, a little bit unusual, they'll point that out to the drivers and be like, maybe this corner's too slow, or whatever it might be. As
yeah, 5:31.6 is the time for Thierry. We've got Kalle Rovanperä in the stage as well. 4.2 seconds slower than OJ at 5K marker. Tanak getting himself ready to go. Slightly frustrating start for him this morning with the stall at the hairpin.
yeah.
But when you factor in everything that went on the second stage, not that frustrating at all. Let's cross out to Molly then, who is now there for us to chat with Thierry.
Thierry, that's just 0.8 of a second off Seb's time. You've been pretty frustrated with the car. Have you been able to do some improvements on it?
To be honest, not a lot. I mean, we are more or less able to follow the times, but I feel like if we would have a better car on tarmac, we would be much faster. I could go so much faster, but the car just doesn't let me.
There you go, that's quite the statement there, isn't it? He could, he feels he could.
I mean, the driver always feels like there's more in the tank.
Of course.
It's not often that they will come to a stage and think, yeah, that was everything. Usually only the power stage, which I suppose makes sense given the bonus points on offer there. But yeah, okay, Thierry will work with the engineers a lot between the stages, and of course when they get that opportunity at lunchtime service to make some bigger adjustments.
Obviously, tyre change for Rovanperä and Ogier in the previous one. And I talked about the fact that tyre changes are practiced so much, Seb. You were a big part of that in your co-driving days. How often were you practicing changing the tyres?
Yeah, I mean, okay, at the start of the year you do it a lot, particularly if you changed team, or if there was a new car that had a different layout in the boots and how the jack and things worked. So I mean, maybe some crews do it religiously once a rally before the start. Others are a bit more kind of do it a few times in the season, but each time you do it, you wouldn't just practice once. You'd have the engineers there with a stopwatch, you'd do it, debrief, reassess, go again, try and beat it. And like I said, we were always aiming, okay, back in the days when we had 2-minute gaps, it was an absolute must that you had to be finished within 2 minutes. But ideally, less than 1:30 was kind of, let's say, the podium standard. And yeah, if you get it close to 1:15, 1:20, that was like about as much as was possible in competition environment. You know, in the sort of nice sanitised area of the service bay, it's a lot easier when everything's cool and nothing, you know, there's not the same adrenaline pumping through you to.
Yeah, you're not on a potentially uneven, muddy surface.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different variables out on the stage. It's like the point you decide to pick to stop and change can have a big impact. As Rovanperä completes.
Yeah, it's a 5:38.9 for Kalle through here.
A lot of wheel spin off the start line there. Cool. So, hear what Kalle has to say and pick up on that later. No, I spoke briefly to Rich Milliner just before the previous stage, and yeah, he didn't have much more info either as team boss. So I think it's kind of just, that's Oid's style, isn't it? He's never quite satisfied with, and there's always room for improvement with the car. But he still turns up and manages to set the good times in the stages as he completes their third fastest, 3.8 seconds down on Ogier's quickest time. Let's see how we find that one, shall we? Bets anything any better?
Let's see what he says to Molly at the end of it. Had a bit of a debate earlier about this black cat that shot out in front of them as to whether it was a cat or not. Could have been a rabbit. So that was a bit of an update on that story if you were with us on the previous stage. Let's cross out to Voigt.
Oh, that's not so bad considering the issues that you have. 3.8 off the pace. How did it feel?
Yeah, the stage is very smooth, so for sure it's easier. Not fun, but it's easier.
How much of a struggle do you have with the car?
Sorry?
How much of a struggle is it with the car?
Yeah. Little bit struggle is already enough, so yeah. Now we will get back.
Well, we'll probe further in the media zone as much as we can.
Do some more investigations there, definitely, yeah.
Elvin Evans, Scott Martin then up in obviously podium position, and it's so difficult to kind of say in podium position right now because there's such a long way to go. We're at the longest day of the event with 130 competitive kilometres, and every one of you who's watched Rally Croatia in the past 2 years will know how quickly things change around here.
This is it. I mean, I remember we were saying, oh, last year's battle was incredibly close, but I seem to recall that until Robin Perra had his puncture on Saturday, it was quite a big gap, and then that concertinaed everything up, and we had that grandstand finish on the Sunday. But yeah, perhaps the gaps have expanded slightly earlier than we might have expected on these first couple of stages. But yeah, there's a long way to go, and gosh, you wouldn't put anything out of the picture in terms of who's going to finish where. Looping corner there from EP, a little slide on the exit just as he rotates the car on the mud on the inside of that cut. But how good is it to see the trickle off from the sky as well?
Oh, it does look. I mean, I know I've said it now quite a few times. We talked about it during Shakedown yesterday, didn't we? And this morning, it does look fantastic. I think it is a real beautiful tribute. You've seen everyone who's commented on social media about this livery. It's such a lovely thing to have done. Not only the flag, but also the quotes from Craig, the beautiful things that he said on the car. But every car this weekend, we're seeing cars further down the field who have no links to Ireland. They are also running Irish flags as well, whether it be on the roof vent or somewhere on the car. And it's nice to see the whole, WRC family come together in full tribute.
Yeah.
As Elvin completes for us. It's third fastest. 3.3 seconds off the pace of Ogier. He's now 16.4 seconds adrift of Neuville. Tanak is just 6.6 seconds behind. So that gap just slightly widened by half a second. Yeah,
Tanak will be keen to make sure that doesn't get any bigger and keeps in touch with Evans. Certainly is for a land to get back to the service at lunchtime.
Elvin, that's third fastest, 3.3 off the pace, but that front right tyre doesn't look like it has much air in it. Did you feel that?
Yeah, we had it just near the end there, so I don't think it cost too much, but yeah, quite lucky with that one, it looks like.
Miss anything, or?
There we go, interesting to hear it looks like Elvin suffering some sort of tyre issue.
Yeah, slow puncture maybe.
Slow puncture perhaps, or yeah.
So Taka Katsuta with the mixture of the cross pattern of the hard and soft compound tyre.
Yeah, Taka the only driver to only take 2 hard compound tyres in his selection. So yeah, he'll be restricted to using a cross or yeah, a minute. Obviously, only those 2 hards with the 2 softs. No way he's going to be putting a wet tyre on in these conditions. So he'll be balancing the third soft tyre around the loop to even out the wear as best as possible. It's an interesting one. Like we were saying earlier, the temperatures here, it's warm, but it's not hot, I wouldn't say, by any means. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to look at the end of the loop how those tyre choices have worked out in terms of whether the full hard selection or the balance has been the better option.
For Lappi then, he's passed that final split point. You can see the time was on the screen there, 6.3 seconds slower than Ogier at the final split. He was quite amusing at the end of the previous stage with his comments.
It's interesting to see that's the tricky junction that Neuville was a little bit wide on near the end of the stage, the double left-hander over the crest, and it does just seem to be the road looks dusty, doesn't it? Even though this, it's quite a strange phenomenon where in the cuts, obviously, the more dirt has been dragged out, but the early runners on let's say the normal part of the road will actually have a small cleaning effect, just moving this dust and these fine particles out of the way. It's obviously not enough to balance out the damage that's been done with all the mud and dirt from the proper cuts, but you'll notice that in things like the braking areas, particularly where grip might not be as high as you'd perhaps expected, as Lappi through the flying finish there.
5:38.1 was the time on the board, so yeah, that's third fastest, and he is 6 seconds adrift of podium right now. He was trying to come up with some extra words for challenging earlier. We've managed to print out at least 50 for him here. They've pinned up on the commentary wall, so we can help out EP if he needs it.
And we're going to have a bingo sort of crossword style to tick them off, Bex, as we go through.
I think we should.
Looking up at this list now, there's some really great ones up there, aren't there?
There really are.
We'll come to that later.
EP, hopefully due to a less dirtier road, this was more fun than challenging?
Yeah, no, the last two stages have been a bit better. The first one was really horrible, and it will be horrible on the second pass, but these two, I've been really following the sentence over here, you know.
That's a good plan.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah, what he means by that, the sentence, there's a Craig Breen quote which runs along the ridge of the car. I can't remember which one that Lappi has.
I think they're both the same, but it's different each side of the car.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah.
Let's enjoy and have fun.
Yeah, have fun, exactly.
And I think, you know, they all have that in their minds this weekend. Okay, with Pierre-Louis Loubet now then, who, you know, on the first stage had the dirtiest road to come through out of obviously our P1 drivers. He has a target in mind this weekend. It's similar to Taka in that they really just want a clean rally out there.
Yeah, exactly. It'll just be a case of gaining the experience. Pierre-Louis has been here before, but obviously not as much experience as the others across time and this kind of thing. So he'll be looking for a clean, smooth rally, pick up some points, and just move on to the next one. I'm sure he'll feel more at home on the Portuguese stages, with a bit more experience there. But yeah, it's just getting through this weekend after what has been a tricky couple of rallies for Pierre-Louis, particularly in Mexico, where he was sort of forced into an early finish both Friday and Saturday from memory.
Yeah. 2 short stages to wind out our route this morning, certainly the loop this morning, and then we took you reference gravel cruise, safety, route no cruise. Earlier on, there'll be obviously that conversation of the midpoint media zone where they have gone through the stages for the second pass, and that's where they're going to come into their own, is the second pass of these stages, especially that first one when Esa-Pekka said it's going to be, you know, a lot dirtier second pass.
It's an interesting one. Obviously the safety net crews drive the stages about 2 hours before the action starts, so in the morning run, of course, they just see a completely clear road exactly as it was on Recce, so it's very difficult. That you can get quite frustrated really, because you arrive with, let's say for Loubet there's been 7 cars ahead, and it's nothing like what the gravel crews have said, but that's just, you know, a learning and experience that you begin to understand where these cuts of dirt might be. But the second pass is a ride. It can sometimes be too much. It can be overwhelming how much the info there is to take in. Molly's having a good look at the front corner of Taka's car there. See if there's anything specific to in his interview.
Taka, that's just 4.5 seconds off the fastest time. How would you compare this stage to the previous 2?
Of course, a little bit less cutting, so it makes more easier for us to guess what can happen. But past 2 stages are really horrible. I mean, lot of mud comes from inside and not easy. But this one quite okay. But tarmac is very slippery.
So yeah, just going back to the safety note crews there, they will be already probably driving through the first stage of the loop to get that information now that the full field will have driven through it. Typically these days you find that a lot of the communication is done through pictures. They'll obviously have a copy of the co-driver's pace notes and make any amendments, and often just take a picture of a certain page. In the days gone by, they will always be on the phone. Page 6, line 3, add gravel here. But with the modern technology and the likes of WhatsApp, you can send stuff very quickly and then perhaps on a phone call to discuss with the driver the general feeling of what the stage is like. But it's a bit of a thankless job, really, being in safety.
Absolutely.
Having seen both sides of the coin myself many times, it's lots of early starts, and of course their work is appreciated, but there's times where you can be frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the drivers over the years have become maybe a bit more generous. Certainly, when I'm hosting the end of rally press conference, when things have gone well, the route note crews are commended.
Yes.
It is a tough job, and as you say, it could be a thankless task at times. So the hard compound tyre then with a soft on the rear right for Lube.
Choice that. Obviously, Lube took 4 hards in his selection, so maybe he had some damage that we didn't know about from the previous stages, perhaps. But slightly unusual, but maybe there's a story to tell when he gets to the finish and the stop line.
Neuville, Evans and Tanak are top 3 as Lube completes the stage for us. A 5:38.5.
My French not quite up to it for that one, but some hand gestures from Pierre-Louis, so obviously not too happy about something.
We'll wait to hear from him with Molly. And have a listening to Elliot.
Yeah, Louis, 7.7 off the pace, and they're not too happy with things, it looks like.
Yeah, honestly, condition it's quite difficult to let the speed. Sometimes you have grip, sometimes not. So I don't want to do any big mistake, but yeah, it's quite tricky.
Solberg splits there, of course. Being the first Rally 2 car on the road, are relative to fastest through the stage, but we'll be looking at how he's comparing to the other Rally 2 runners. Of course, Solberg not in WRC 2 this weekend, but I mean, gosh, what a battle, or what a drama, sorry, we should say we've had in WRC 2 already. Ryan Russell being dominant on that first stage.
Incredible, the first 2 stages, the first stage in particular, but the first 2 stages, great times from Russell. We've seen a very strange issue for Lindholm, where his gear stick's obviously broken, it's just moving on its own, and he seemed to be locked in gear. But now that he's in the stage, I wonder whether he's been able to put in a fix in the liaison section or not.
Yeah, I think if it is just simply that the linkage is broken, so long as it's at an area that's accessible, he should be able to make a bit of a repair, often with get a couple of spanners to sort of bridge the gap, some Jubilee clips to tighten around it, and that can, okay, it's never as good as it is a new.
There's a smile from Oliver Solberg, that's all we like to see.
Yes.
Yeah. But it would just turn straight away.
I know we've lost audio. Switched us off.
Seemed a bit happier. But yeah, I mean, I think we might be able to see from Lindholm's on board potentially. But yeah, he should be able to fix that, I think, with the tools he has in the car.
Oliver, a smile from you there crossing the finish line. Enjoy that one?
Yeah, it was enjoyable, yes, but car is not so good when it's so dry. I was hoping for more shit and little bit more tricky conditions, so I can't say I'm very happy with the car, but I'm losing a lot of time, but still second. We'll see on this one. So yeah.
That's unusual. Sorry, Bex. There's not many times you hear a driver saying, "I want it to be muddier, like wetter."
I know, right?
Worse conditions. It's like, gosh.
Make it worse. Yeah, it's unusual. 5:55.4 for Oliver Solberg. Johan Rossel's leading the category as we head into this one, and it has been a really strong morning from him. But his target is to take the win this weekend. You know, second overall in the WRC2 title fight.
Of course, it took the win in Monte Carlo. Big point score there. See him since then. So for all these drivers, obviously you have 7 events that you select for your WRC2 points. All of them are arriving to them thinking, with the championship as strong as it is, and all of them, you have to win if you want to be in the mix come the end of the year. And Rossel's certainly going about it the right way.
He absolutely is. A great time on the board, 5:49.7. But maybe for the first time he's about to be eclipsed by Emil Lindholm, who is speeding through this one. Let's have a quick look then at Emil Lindholm, because the times are looking great. Hey, there's some kind of fix happened here. The gear stick is no longer ghost gear stick, moving on its own.
All looks well in the car, and yeah, he's up on the slits,
fast.
so yeah. Nice work, Emil and Rita.
Johan, what an incredible morning you're having. Just 5.7 faster than Oliver through here. But Emil is actually a little bit quicker than you on the splits. But still, you must be very pleased with how it's going.
Yeah, I think the car worked very well. I don't push on the limit compared at Monte. And I think the car improved a lot because my driving is the same.
Yeah, and there have been upgrades. So, I mean, as he said, he feels he's driving the same, but it's a lot quicker out there, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw in Monte Carlo that Johan and I think it was Eric Emily in the other Citroen, who was really near the front of the battle in WRC2. They felt like maybe the new Skoda had a bit of an edge and that they needed to do some work. And we know that Citroen have been working very hard on developments to try and even out the performance. But it's also different rallies, different characteristics, suit certain cars in different ways. So yeah, obviously Johan feels his driving's on the same level, and yeah, it's just for whatever reason it's working very well for him this morning.
And certainly this stage is suiting Emil Lindholm and Gus Greensmith, both faster on the splits over Johan Rossell. Great to see that the car is fully functioning now, and the fix that they've made has worked, and more importantly, maybe it's held. One more stage to go before they get back and the mechanics can have a proper look at it. But all credit to Emil and Rita.
Emil, wow, that's half a second quicker than the boys in front of you there. What exactly happened on the previous stage?
We only had one gear. Seemed to have been, just the linkage to the gearbox was missing a bolt, and we were stuck in third gear, but that was not too bad. Obviously, top speed isn't so great.
Was that quite a stressful road section, or was it a quick fix?
No, we took it easy, found a nice spot with a view and fixed the car, but here we are.
He makes it sound quite charming, doesn't he?
It?
Like they're having a picnic or something.
Does, yeah.
Found a nice view,
Clearly
fixed the car.
No stress at all for Emil, you know, a capable mechanic, and yeah, managed to fix that no problem. But yeah, it's just interesting to see, obviously, with both Lindholm and Greensmith now faster on the splits than Rossell, but after 2 stages with that 31-second lead for Rossell, he's done the hardest part of the job. He needs to just, keep the pace on, keep the pressure up, but not give it absolutely 100%.
Yeah, he doesn't need to take,
big risks.
Big risks out there, and you can tell he's maybe just eased off a little.
Yeah, and I think that's a really smart approach. If he needs to turn it up again, I'm sure he'll be able to. But for now, particularly given that Lindholm had that puncture and Greensmith was also a way down, they've got to catch the time back up. So there's more kind of pressure on them to put in a good stage time, whereas Johan can be a bit more measured in his approach.
Now, Adrian Formeau, Alex Correa got in touch with the team, but there was not a huge amount of information with regard to Adrian. Hopefully they'll be able to find out with Molly what the issue was on the previous stage. Seems to be okay now. And we'll cross out and hear from Gus as well. Just the tributes there, as I mentioned, across all cars to Craig this weekend.
It's all very close, Gus. 0.3 of a second down on Emil. Are you enjoying?
Yeah, apart from the puncture, yeah. It feels okay. Nothing special, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was disappointing in the previous one, obviously. We saw him stop pretty early on in the stage and he lost, you know, the 2 minutes and bit of a blow. But for Formeau, it was a slightly confusing incident. We saw him just, sounded like, we didn't know whether he clipped something. It wasn't a loud noise, but then the car started to slow and he appeared to be kind of in the centre console trying to do something.
It was almost like the car sort of coasted to a not to a stop, but just with lack of power. I would imagine he was probably doing what's referred to as a power cycle, which is essentially
turning it off and turning it back on again.
Absolutely, yeah. The engineers like to give it a more fancy name to make it feel like it's a bit more involved, but no, it is essentially turn the whole thing off.
I remember when someone said that to me for the first time, like, oh, we just recycled the power, and I was looking at them as if to say, you are? You mean you just switched it off and switched it back on again?
Yeah.
Like the fail-safe, that's the way we make everything work again.
Yeah, probably 8, maybe 9 times out of 10 it seems to do the job, so yeah.
These engineers and their fancy words. He'll give us a full explanation, I'm sure, when he gets to the stage end. Gryazin has just completed as well, 5:47.2. He's the new fastest driver through within the category. Good time on the board for Nikolai.
Nikolai, I'm sure you're pretty pleased looking up at that timing board there. Quickest through by 2 seconds. Well done.
Yes, it's quite good. We have the moment on the last stage and the previous one. So we don't have the puncture, but we spin and we damage the rims. So we decide to use the spare tires on these 2 stages. Yeah, so I'm not sure the tires in a proper choice, I will say, but it's still it's possible to drive. So still on the game, just need to to keep on the island. It's really tricky. Too much dirt on the place. Even you not expect to have it in some places, but like whole road have a lot of like the small stones or just the mud, and you need to manage it. So it's not easy. It's quite like really not gravel race, but you need to know how to drive in these gravel sections, I will say.
Quite a few drivers described it as a gravel event in some parts last year.
You can always rely on Nikolai for a thorough explanation of the stage, can't you? And very detailed description. Yeah,
we like that. With Sami Pajari now, he's 4 seconds adrift of Gryazin within the stage. In terms of the classification, Sami is 4th overall after stage 2, 7.7 seconds adrift of Gryazin. So it's a good run from Nikolai, but as he mentioned, it was a spin in the previous one.
Yeah, I've also seen a picture of him having a particularly wild moment at the same place Eric Seiss was off in the first stage. So he's clearly pushing and having a few little excursions from the optimum line on the route. But yeah, good time from here. So we hear with Adrian Formeau, hopefully with a bit more info from his issue.
Adrian, just shy of 6 seconds down on this stage, but could you tell us what happened on the previous stage?
Actually, in the previous stage, we had some electronic issue. So the car was just shutting down and I couldn't move the car. So we fixed it on the road section, and now it's working.
And you had a good run through there?
Yeah, we had a good run, really clean, but we definitely made a big mistake with tires today, so it's okay.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone with the only crew to go with full soft for the morning loop.
Yes, yeah, and obviously with these dry roads, okay, the latter stages are shorter, but yeah, the wear has already been felt onto the tyres. So yeah, perhaps the full hard compound was the best, maybe the mix. Like I said, we need to wait for the final stage of the loop to do the full analysis, but I'm sure all the crews will have their own opinions on what the best is, and I would expect this afternoon to see a much more similar pattern across the board, let's say.
Yeah, maybe more straightforward choice. Because you mentioned, you know, it's not shorts weather out there. Can be warm in the sun, but it can be, you know, the ground still can be quite cool first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and a lot of the stages do start quite early this rally, so certainly something to factor for the drivers and the engineers when they're making that tyre selection in the morning service.
Sami Pyrie now then completes for us. Behind Gryazin by 13.5 seconds now.
Sami, that's 5.8 down on Nikolai through there. How do you feel about the run?
Yeah, not too bad, but it's tricky. I'm, let's say, still learning about reading the grip, and it's changing quite a lot, so it's not so easy.
Yeah, Nikolai was saying you need to learn how to drive on these kind of conditions.
Yeah, sure, but yeah, they're really fast.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, difficulty to read the change in grip. Okay then, that is our stage complete. The beautiful views here of Croatia as we take a look at the stage classifications for stage 3 overall. Sebastian Ogier setting the pace there with a 5:30.8. Neuville only 0.8 of a second behind. Then we've got Elfyn Evans 3.3 off the pace. Tanak was 4th fastest, Katsuta 5th. Overall, Thierry Neuville continues to lead here. That lead over Elfyn Evans, 16.4 seconds. Tanak is 6.6 behind Elfyn. Esa-Pekka Lappi, 4th, is 9.5 seconds behind Tanak. Then Taka Katsuta completes the top 5. We're going to head into the service park here in Zagreb, in Croatia, and chat about what's happened already this morning.
Yeah, I think it's about time that we do chat about what's happened this morning, because it has